YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. The Hammer of Witches, that's right, welcomes you to the battlefield. Let's check it out. So it's going to open fire on these poor Bretonnian peasants over here. What have they done to deserve the wrath of the most feared cannon in the Empire? Well, they've come to meet the Empire in battle. Ooh, looks like there'll be a cool shot up here. Let's get this. Yeah, get like the flaming stuff going on up here. Wait for it. There we go. Try and get some fun shots. So we got Boris Todbringer up here on the Griffin. And down here for the Bretonians is the Fey Enchantress and 3 paladins supporting her. And she's got a cheap infantry army. There's a front line of men-at-arms, second line of men-at-arms polearms, a couple of peasant bows, one of which has pox arrows, and then there's a grail relic. So it looks like Boris is going to dive, or this is the General of the Empire, my bad. So the General of the Empire is going to dive in and then quickly scoot on out of there. The Empire army is several units of flagellants, one of which is the Tattersouls. Zentler's Reichsguard, which is going to get a very nice charge here on these poor chump peasants. It's not going to do a ton of kills just because it's the first charge and relatively quick. So there's some handgunners, silver bullets, a couple of spears to protect the flanks, but otherwise you can see the only other unit out here is actually still hidden back here. It's a Royal Altdorf Griffite. And you're going to see the Bretonnian player kind of do some weird stuff here. Like the Bretonnian player comes up in a very blocky formation and takes a ton of fire from the handgunners. And it's almost like he expected the Empire to attack him or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But you can see he's got the Fey Enchantress, who is a living Mortis engine, and then these 3 paladins. And then there's a Grail relic in here, too. It's moving up right now. So, I mean, the morale of the Bretonnians up front is going to be pretty much unbreakable. And they're going to try and just hold out against the flagellants, which would otherwise do quite well, as would Sigmar's sons. So you can see the flagellants and everything getting engaged. There's some Grail Knights over here, and they are taking fire from the Hammer of Witches. And the Hammer of Witches is just brutal. It has a bonus versus large. And as it gets to fire at units like these Grail Knights and it hits them, it'll cause immense damage. So you have to do a lot of maneuvering to try and keep your units safe from this type of thing. The silver bullets are up too. Here comes the fire from the Hammer of Witches. You can see there just kills cavalry unit models like it's nothing. So this Grail Knight right here has been singularly destroyed by the Hammer of Witches. And you can see actually, so the Bretonnian, the cheap infantry that you would think is just going to get wrecked. Nope. The Bretonnian infantry is actually carrying the day right now with just the peasants, because of the Fey and her protectors. The Zentler's Reichsguard is up here trying to do some work. And here comes the Royal Altdorf Griffites, but they're going to be met by polearms, and they're going to have to immediately pull out of that combat. There's still a unit of Grail Knights here that's trying to support the infantry. And look at this. Unit of Grail Knights completely wrecked by the Hammer of Witches. Yeah, you can see the Fey Enchantress. Like I said, the more that she stays in combat, she just kind of chews away at the units around her. Very effective lord as you keep her alive throughout a game, and with 3 paladins protecting her, she's going to be hard to kill. She is definitely going to be hard to kill. It's pretty frequent we've seen Grail Guardians protecting her, and in this case it's 3 paladins, which is another interesting way to do so. Look at the Hammer of Witches just slaying Grail Knights. This thing has paid dividends. Grail Knights are very expensive, and the Hammer of Witches has already wrecked one. It's already hurt a lot of infantry. Now this Zentler's Reichsguard doesn't get a proper charge. It's just a movement order, but these Royal Altdorf Griffites will get into the back of the Grail Knights and cause a huge loss of leadership and also cause a tremendous amount of damage. So it'll be enough to get rid of the Grail Knights. Demigryph Knights actually trade pretty well with Grail Knights. And it's because Demigryph Knights are more specifically anti-armor and anti-large than Grail Knights are. Grail Knights are a little more of a hybrid anti-infantry or anti-monster. So, anyway, the handgunners are being forced back a little bit. The General of the Empire swooped in, trying to take out some of these Bretonnian infantry, but they will not rout due to terror because of the presence of the Grail Relic. And you can see the leadership here for the Bretonnian army kind of moving around trying to support as needed. They had to chase off the Empire cavalry. But because the Hammer of Witches has gone unopposed here, it's got 82 kills and has made itself extraordinarily useful. It's going to continue to be able to fire into these blobs, as will the handgunners. And you can see that the Fey Enchantress continues to be protected by her paladins. And it means that her infantry is standing their ground for an absurdly long time. Which is great, because flagellants don't break. And the longer you stand your ground with them, their weak defense will kind of make itself felt. The Enchantress is such a cool leader in this game. She's definitely probably, I don't know, she may have rocketed up to one of my favorite lord in the game. I'm not sure, but she's definitely right up there for me. Just, I like the way that she plays in the game and the way that she can support units. So the General of the Empire back here with the cavalry mopping up some of these Bretonnian bowmen. Gonna get rid of them. And then over here, look at the net of Amentok catching this big blob of Bretonnian infantry and their leaders. Holding them still. I'm assuming the handgunners really kind of wanted to fire in here, but they've had to turn their attention to these men-at-arms who thought they were going to charge down the handgunners. A regrouped unit of Grail Knights was trying to take down the Hammer of Witches, but the Hammer of Witches is not finished yet. It is not finished yet. So yeah, looks like it's going to be moved away to see some more combat. 98 kills. Still a threat here from this Grail Knight around, and it looks like it's probably going to come after the gunners, who are not poised. They've been trying to kill the Grail Relic, and who blames them at this point? If they don't kill that Grail Relic, these infantry, look at this. There's a men-at-arms here with 82 kills. 35 kills. These are extremely cheap infantry, and that is very, very worthwhile for them to be getting that kind of kills. Look at this. The handgunners are caught off guard because they're about to be charged down by Grail Knights. The Grail Knights just never get tired either, so these guys move around fairly quick for heavy cavalry. And they fight very effectively in late game because they don't get tired. So a very healthy unit of Grail Knights in the late game can be brutal. This is not a very healthy unit, but still. Nonetheless, it's a fairly close fight. The Hammer of Witches still firing away. Just look at these poor peasants. Just absolutely brutal. Here the Grail Relic gets held still, and the handgunners are going to be able to reposition to try and finish it, really, because this is a key unit here. You can see that this poor dead Grail Knight and the peasants who carry him are going to come under a withering barrage from the Empire. If they can take that unit off the battlefield, it will definitely bring them one step closer to victory. Look at this. Those nets of Amentok, man. That is such a brutal spell. Look how much damage the Grail Relic can take. This thing is almost indestructible. It's down to 102 hit points. And look at that, it just stabilizes. Like that it's nothing. It's only the charge of the General of the Empire that finally breaks it. Look at that. Well, that poor dead Grail Knight would be very proud of how brave the peasants who carried him were, only to be killed by the charge of an Empire Griffin. Look at these paladins punching around all this Empire infantry. They would do fairly well against a lot of unarmored infantry. But that's not where their concern is. Looks like they're going to try and push back some of these Altdorf Griffites, one of them dropping right there. So trying to protect some of their infantry from this unit, and getting rid of the Altdorf Griffites would be very important for Bretonnia because they cause terror. It's one of the best things about the Altdorf Griffites. A Demigryph Knight with halberds, which is quite good as it is, and then causing terror on top of it is a very nice combination. This handgunner is going to be able to just fire away. But the leadership of the Bretonnians, which is also their mobility at this point, is charging down these silver bullets. Taking them off the field will definitely be an important move. Can't leave the silver bullets around forever. Even if you're not a vampire, those guys hurt. And then the Light Wizard. I'm thinking the Bretonnians have had enough of this. Look at that, the Fae connects with them on the charge. One Paladin left behind here. He's in the spears. Let's see what else is going on. So Bretonnian units being chased off back here. This is looking pretty decent for the Empire, though. There are still 4 leaders for Bretonnia here, one of which could potentially have regrowth, but that comet was just a little bit late. Nice play there by the Empire player, getting their infantry away from that comet. So at this point, the silver bullets are just kind of swerving back and forth, trying to avoid that Paladin. And then these handgunners also still alive. It looks like the Hammer of Witches may finally get its due. 121 kills later. 2 Grail Knights killed, so this unit definitely paid off. But the Fey Enchantress has had enough. Point blank shot misses the Paladin and actually hits some friendly Empire troops there. Notice that sometimes artillery lasts a little bit longer than you'd expect it to because the attacking units will get caught on the artillery pieces. It actually stops their charges. Sometimes it's worth your while to turn around and get into the back of him. Look at that, he just kicked a paladin. Well, that's the last thing he'll ever kick. He's headless now. Is that his head? I think it is. Yep. Well, no longer a handsome fellow, are we? The Fey Enchantress is taking a ton of fire from the handgunner units, and then she's going to get hit with a net just painfully close to her target. Not going to happen, and poor Silvaran, such a beautiful steed, being shot to bits and netted by the Light Wizard. And she is being shot down in a most unchivalrous manner by the Empire. At this point, you can see there's several paladins left, and then the Enchantress is about to go back to the Earth. She's only got a few hundred hit points, so she's going to be chased off by the gunners. And at this point, she's going to be pursued by the General of the Empire to make sure that she does not come back from routing. But this leaves the paladins to try and get rid of the silver bullets, which they did. But then the silver bullets regrouped. The paladins are starting to flee away, maybe hoping to draw the battle out and look for a better piecemeal engagement. The Griffites are chasing them, and they're having to turn around to chase off the Griffites. And shortly, the Paladins, which definitely could spend a lot of time running away, and I about half wondered if this battle was going to be kited out to a draw. But, as you can see, there's really not going to be any getting away for the Paladins, because the Griffin can catch them. And it does hit them here. And then the Royal Altdorf Griffites are going to charge in, and you can see the leadership immediately breaks for the Paladins, because they're terrified, which then means the battle is over. So a Pyrrhic victory for the Empire in a very interesting and long drawn-out engagement between Bretonnia and the Empire. And that was actually sent in by HeirofCarthage, which I appreciate him sending it in. So very interesting play by the Bretonnian player there. I've never actually seen a cheap infantry build from Bretonnia actually be kind of viable. So that was an interesting play by Bretonnia, and surprised me in many ways. I mean, these units are dirt cheap. They were 250. I don't know if their price changed, but I mean, this number of kills on these cheap units is actually pretty decent. Then you had the men-at-arms to try and hold the back line. The Grail Knights potentially could have done a lot of work, but the Hammer of Witches actually was a very nice pick here. And it is a good pick against Bretonnia if they're going to bring a lot of monstrous or a lot of cavalry units. Now, had Bretonnia banked on a flying squad, that might have been different. I mean, the Light Wizard definitely could have held it so that the cannon and the guns shot at it while the General of the Empire tries to fight. But still, a large flying squad probably would have been pretty dangerous. And that's the thing, that it gets challenging to protect artillery from that type of thing. But still, the Hammer of Witches causes enormous damage to large targets. Because it has a bonus versus large. So interesting play there to see the artillery be very useful as well. Appreciate HeirofCarthage sending that in. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more battles, please make sure to click my logo down in the bottom right hand corner. That'll subscribe you to the channel and keep you up to date with all the new videos, and there will be new videos frequently. Appreciate MSI for sponsoring this build that I'm recording with, and I appreciate you, my awesome viewer. I love making this content for you every day. It truly is a pleasure and an honor, and I hope you all enjoy it. I'll be back with more. HeirofCarthage, signing out.